Thank you very much, Lord Zoom and our new webinar manager. Thank you everybody for joining us. The contest webinars always tend to be very well attended, and I'm expecting actually probably close to double that who've already joined. John Drinkwater has taken over as our webinar manager this year, and this is the 7th Sunday night webinar we've done so far. I'll be talking about the ones that are coming up towards the end of this session. We also have a new district chief judge this year, and the point of tonight is really to cover at a very high level some of the changes to the rules, but also a few of the things that we'd like to highlight. And we'd also want to give you the opportunity to practice judging in a live environment, whether you've done it before, whether you're an experienced judge. So we are simulating a table topics contest tonight as well. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce a man who does read the contest rule book, and that's one of the reasons he was approached by both Helena and I to be this year's district chief judge. Please give a very warm welcome to Chris Walker, D91's district chief judge.
Hello. I've been muted. Right, I'm highlighted. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
People stick their thumbs up. Excellent. Right, the audio is working. I'm on my phone because my internet seems to be a bit flaky. So you'll hopefully be able to see me, hear me, even if you can't see me. So the main thing I want to do tonight is really get you to get an idea of judging and get you to practice judging and using the judging criteria. And amongst you, there will be some people who are really experienced and some who are a lot less experienced and who are novices. And hopefully, between you all, you can share best practice. So I am going to start sharing my screen. And then give you an overview of. So I'm going to talk about contests. I'm going to talk about judging, and in particular, the judging criteria. And we are going to run a mini table topics contest. And you, the entire audience, are our judges. I'd like you to score the contest as though it were a real contest, but then you will be put into breakout rooms where I'd like you to discuss the judging, how you've scored according to the judging criteria, and to learn from each other, and by discussion, see if you can pick out how you can improve. And then we're going to wrap up. So the first thing I'm going to say is, have you thought of reading the documentation? There is lots of it on the Toastmasters International website, and there are some additional resources, including useful scripts on the District 91 website. Linked from the Toastmasters International website is the rulebook, and there are one or two changes this year, notably the suggestion or the requirement that if you are competing, you should not be going for a district level position. So if you're thinking of being an area director, please do not compete. Now, let's go on. And if we get time at the end, I will provide some more details of rules and tips. But I think I really want to focus on the speech contests. So why do we have speech contests? To practice competitive speaking. Toastmasters say to provide interesting educational programs for members and the public, and to provide an opportunity to learn by observing proficient speakers. I know that I really improved in contests when I went judging. You know, I'm a little bit competitive, and I'm sure many of you are as well. And so this is an opportunity to show that competitiveness, but also to see how you can do a much better speech. By delivering the same speech multiple times, you'll see how to improve it, and you'll compare yourselves to other speakers, and you have an objective measure, that of the judges, and they should be judging against judging criteria. So as judges, and you are all, I hope, planning to be judges, you've an obligation to judge the competitors fairly, the contestants fairly. You've an obligation to Toastmasters International. You've an obligation to the rest of the audience, but most of all, you have an obligation to yourself to do the job to the best of your ability. Now, remember that judging is not, judging, you are selecting a winner. You're not evaluating a speech to tell the competitor how to give a better speech. You are judging based on the criteria who is the best speaker. Remember, your decisions are confidential. You shouldn't be discussing them after the contest with the competitors. You should not be drawn by the competitors on whether you're a judge and how you might have judged. So please avoid doing that. So what is a good judge? They're accurate, they're fair, they're trustworthy, and they're knowledgeable. But most of all, they're good listeners. So how can you be, so what are the barriers to objectivity? How can you avoid, how can you deliver a fair result? Clearly, we're going to have a speaking order. So you should do your utmost to avoid judging people on where they are in the speaking order. Remember that you set a bar by the first speaker, and the last speaker is perhaps the one, because of your short-term memory, that you will remember the most. But you need to do your utmost to judge objectively and avoid that influencing your decision. Speech results should be the result on the day. You shouldn't champion the underdog because they might do better next time. Conversely, you shouldn't champion and vote for somebody because of who they are, what other wonderful things they do in Toastmasters. So you shouldn't vote for somebody because they're a DTM or because they do a lot for the district. Equally, you shouldn't vote down somebody because you dislike some of their other actions. Just think of how they perform on the day. The other caution is that you often judge at different levels in the contest. So you can see people at the club, the area, the division, and the district. So if you are seeing people for the second time, make sure that you try and judge them objectively that second time for the performance on the day and not their previous performance. You should also judge on how people do, not whether they use a lectern and any other norms that you might have. And in particular, be aware that you might have prejudices and personal preferences, and do your best to eliminate those. But as a contest organizer, have a breadth of judges from a variety of backgrounds will give you a better result. The more judges you have, the less any individual judge who's got a particular bee in their bonnet about something is going to influence the result. And as a novice judge, it was really delightful that there were lots of judges. So if I got the answer wrong, it wouldn't affect the competition result because I would be outvoted. And above all, know the rules, read the rule book. Now, this is a presentation I've modified from Toastmasters International, and at the contest you have a judge's guide and ballot. Now, and it gives you various criteria against which you judge. Today, this is for the International Speech Contest. Today, we're going to talk about the table topics contest. So we're going to judge according to that. So you should take notes. You should use the suggested points in the ballot and work out what's good and bad about each of the speeches and whether you want to give points or deduct points. Now, we're going to run through these in slightly more detail, but you're judged on your content, you're judged on your delivery, and you're judged on your language. And the ratio is 55% for content, 30% for the delivery, and 15% for language. Now, for the content, we're thinking about development and effectiveness. Now, this is an interactive workshop. So what I want you to do is put in the chat some examples of good speech development in the table topics. What makes a good speech and what makes a bad speech in terms of speech development. And if Rory is in the room, Rory, could you read out some of your favourites? And then we're going to do the same.
Oh, sorry, hang on one sec. Sorry, say that again, Chris.
So I'd like people to put in the chat examples of good speech development and examples of bad speech development. And if Rory can pick out some of his favourites, we can pick some of those up. So I don't. People.
Okay, so good. I'm assuming these are all good so far because they look good to me. We've got clear transition structure, clear transitions, bad, a speech that meanders, good signposting, storytelling, hidden message in structure of 3 parts on speech. That's an interesting one. Coherence and logic, impactful, good lighting, and a conclusion. We might come back to that one. Humor.
What makes a speech effective? How can you gain the effectiveness points? And I should add that one of the criteria is audience response. Now, as the contests are going to be online this year, you're going to have to use your own response rather than how you judge how everybody else in the room is reacting, because you won't be able to see them.
Okay, so we've got for effectiveness, we've got has a message, answering the question, call to action is clear and realistic, has a story, use of word images.
Okay, that's excellent. We're going to move on to delivery now. And in terms of delivery, for the table topics contest anyway, there's 2 aspects. There's the physical and the voice. So thinking first of the physical, so the appearance, the body language and speaking area. What things do you mark people up for and what things do you mark people down for? Now, one of the speeches at the contest a year and a bit ago, Stuart Goodwin, talked about his first appearance on stage as an actor where he was naked. And he made a really effective use of the camera, stood on stage naked as far as you could see, although the camera was placed very strategically. He then poured a bucket of water over himself. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. What did you think makes a good example? And what is a bad example?
So we've got good examples: confidence, facial expressions, good posture, and eye contact, especially with the camera for online. Bad ones, we've got too much movement. It's an interesting one, especially for online. good. We've got use of stage space. Bad, too much repetition or overacting. Pushing it too far. It's an interesting one. Using the space effectively, middle, left and right of the stage, or front and back of the camera. Bad, too much gesturing, too many wild use of hands.
Excellent. Now, one of the things it comments there is a speaking area. Now, I have been to contests where people have suggested that competitors should be disqualified for moving outside the speaking area. That's not true. You cannot be disqualified for moving out, or should not be disqualified for going outside the speaking area. But as a judge, if somebody does go outside the speaking area, you should knock them down for it in this category. Okay, moving on to voice. Examples of good and bad use of voice.
Okay, post in the chat. Vocal variety, or bad, too fast. Vocal variation, playing with the voice, yeah. Adapting language to the target audience, that's a good one. Too quiet or too shouty, bad. Good pausing, good diction.
Okay.
Bad, too many filler words. Yeah, I agree with that one.
And we're now going to talk about language. So we're going to talk about appropriateness of language and correctness of language. What might you score people highly for appropriate language?
Good grammar. Great descriptions. Clever wordplay. So is that appropriateness, or is that good?
But these are all things. So these are all things to think about. I like vivid language, very colourful is the wrong word, but very exciting language that paints a lovely picture. You could score people highly for. Stilted sentences you could mark people down for. And incorrect word use, again, in terms of correctness, is something you could, and poor use of grammar is something you could mark people down for. So we have gone through the judging criteria. We are now going to run a mini table topics contest. So if I can ask all of the judges, I say all of the judges, you are all judges. So if I can ask you all to download Table Topics Ballot, I've put the URL in there, but if Mr. Zoom Master, you can make sure that's posted in the chat, then you have the ballot to download. And if you can then be prepared when we run the Table Topics contest to mark everybody and make a note of the marks for everybody. After we've run the contest, I'm going to split you out into breakout rooms where you can discuss how you've marked it. And I think it's interesting to work out who came first, second, and third. But what I really want to get out of this is that you think about how you've allocated the marks within the various different categories across the various different speakers. Why amongst you've judged this one good in a particular way and bad in another way. That will stay in the breakout rooms. But if you can download the ballots.
It's an editable PDF, so you can just open it on your laptop if you have a laptop and fill it in interactively if you so desire. So you're aware.
Thank you. So as we are practicing for a real contest, I'm going to get Rory to act as Chief Judge to give a Chief Judge's briefing. And then I'm going to get our contest chair, Joanne, to introduce the contest and the contestants as though it were a contest. Then afterwards, we're going to split you out into breakout rooms. So, Mr. Chief Judge Rory, over to you.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm going to run through, if you go onto the District 91 website, which has already had a link further up, and you go onto contests, there is a sheet of notes for the Chief Judge and the contest chair about what they should say and what they should cover. And this is whether you're running a contest or whether you're participating as a judge, it's worth downloading these as well as the contest rulebook, reading them and having a look. I'm going to run through all of the basic things in this sheet, and then we can have a quick Q&A afterwards if we need to. So let's start. So the first thing I would do as a Chief Judge is I'm going to do my final checks. The first thing I'm going to do is I would generally have all of you have filled in a judge's certificate of eligibility, i.e., are you valid to judge for this contest? Right. So if you're a club contest, it's paid members only. You can't have a guest being a judge. For area contests, it's paid members for a minimum of 6 months and have completed level 1 and 2, or 6 speeches under the old system. And the person must not be competing. Right. So if the person is competing in that contest, or they're not competing any longer. So if they might have done their club contest, but they are not doing they didn't win their club contest and are not they're not judging an area contest whilst they're still waiting to play in their area contest, right? So this is about fairness, right? The idea is you don't want to judge who could influence their own outcomes. And for divisional and district, it's the same as for areas, but no judge can be from the same club as the contestant. So nice and simple. And I will get you to fill in the form and sign it and all the rest of that stuff. And we will normally have a WhatsApp group set up. Now, when you were in a contest, you would be anonymous. I know we're not anonymous here because we're playing, but you would be anonymized. You'd have your video off. You'd have your name changed, right? The goal here is that the contestants don't know who the judges are, right? It's an anonymous judging. So let's go through the full briefing notes. The goal of judging, to pick a distinct first, second, and third place. That's it. Right. So before your contest, you should have prepared your ballot sheet, either by printing it off or electronically signing it and getting it ready. So the ballot sheets, the ones you've had it, if you look at the bottom, they ask you to sign them and put your name on. If you're in a physical contest and you don't do that, you submit your ballot, it doesn't count. And I've seen it done in contests. People have submitted ballots and those ballots are void. So I would expect you to arrive ahead of the contest, and you'll be put into a room. We'll anonymize yourselves. We do all the stuff. If you've ever judged a contest, especially on Zoom, we do a whole bunch of stuff in advance to make sure the contestants and the judges never meet each other. So during the contest, the speaking order will be posted in the judges' WhatsApp group. Write down the names across the top of the ballot, left to right or right to left, depending on your preference. Do not enable your microphone or camera. Again, I was saying you're supposed to be anonymous here. After each speech, there'll be 1 minute of silence to mark your ballots. After the last speech, judges will move to a breakout room for an unlimited length of time while they complete their ballots. This whole 2-minute rule at the end does not exist. We've heard it over and over again, but there is no time limit for the judges to complete their ballots. In a physical meeting, you would be silent until the judges have completed their ballots and they've been collected by the ballot counters. So when you're completing your ballot, you've scored them. You've seen the scoring sheet. We'll go back through that in a second. Key things to do. As a normal judge, tiebreaker judge is separate. As a normal judge, your goal is to determine first, second, and third place. Don't put ties. If you score two people and they end up with the same score, it is your job to decide which one of them came first and which one of them came second. Then you would, on an online contest, you would photograph or screen grab your completed ballot slip, just the bottom bit, right? Your criteria for judging are your own. You'd never share those with anybody else, right? You would just send the bottom of the slip, the bit that says first, second, and third place, your name and your signature. Email it to the chief judge and the ballot counters with the subject of ballot and your name. If there's a problem receiving the ballot via email, we would organize it some other way, via WhatsApp or via Zoom. When all the ballots are received, the Zoom master will move you. So that's the basic mechanics. Now we need to talk about fairness. So marking and fairness. When considering delivery, a speaker looking at the camera is considered eye contact. A speaker going outside the speak area is not a disqualifiable offence. However, you may wish to reflect this in your marking for delivery. So the question I want you to ask yourself, is it appropriate for the speech? When marking for audience response, use your own personal reaction. Obviously, you can't judge the response of the rest of the room because everybody else's cameras will be off. Do not pay any attention to the timing signals when marking. That is not your problem. Your job is to judge the speech, however long the speech is. It is up to the timers and to determine how long the speech ran. You must not consider age, gender, race, creed, nationality, accents, professional belief, past performance or reputation, future performance. You're not allowed to judge them on how you think they might do in the contest. That is not your problem. Don't champion underdog. This is about producing a fair contest. And video and audio quality, not everybody can afford fancy cameras. Not everybody can afford the best equipment. So the goal here is not to deduct from someone that is presenting on a cheap camera. Right? The idea here is you are trying to be fair. You are judging only on the performance of the day, on the speech given to you at that point. And try and judge the first and last speaker in the same manner. Right? It's very easy when you've got 7 or 8 speakers to get tired. Just be aware. Right. If we have technical issues, if technology fails, the contest can no longer continue due to lack of contestants or contest officials. The chief judge will reconvene the contest at a later date. We will, however, aim to reconvene immediately if possible. So please monitor the WhatsApp or whatever channel we're using. If the technology of one contestant fails, the chief judge will pause the contest until the technology issue can be resolved. When rectified, the contestant will resume their speech at the point at which the technology failed. The chief judge will not intervene for small dropouts of audio or video, and judges may have to judge on what they saw and heard. Judges might be required to judge an incomplete speech if a contestant has technical failure that cannot be rectified. If a judge has a technical failure, that means they are no longer able to judge. That means they are no longer able to judge all contestants fairly. They should inform the chief judge and renounce their role as judge. So if your video and audio drop out, if you get dropped from the contest and you miss one of the speeches, you recuse yourself as a judge, right? If the tiebreak judge has a technical failure, the chief judge will message one of the voting judges take over the role. If you become the tiebreak judge, keep it quiet. That's the chief judge. But your job then would be to rank all the contestants. If there were 8 contestants, 1 to 8 rather than 1 to 3. Right, we're nearly there, I promise. Protests. Protests can be made on eligibility, originality, and referencing another competitor's speech only within the same contest. So the second speaker in a speech contest is not allowed to say something about the first speaker's speech. That's the rules. Eligibility will normally be checked beforehand by the contest chair or the contest organizer. Originality, contestants should create their own speeches which must be substantially original. If a contestant uses someone else's material, they must attribute it within the speech. A maximum of 25% of non-original material may be used in the speech. More than 25% is ground for protest, even if it's attributed. Less than 25%, but not attributed, is also grounds for a protest. So referencing another competitor's speech is a new rule for 2020-2021. Contestants must not reference another contestant or speech presented by another contestant from the platform at the same contest at which they are competing. This is grounds for a protest. Right, when do you raise a protest? All protests must be made before the award announcement, i.e. you can't come back 2 weeks later and go, oh, I think there was something wrong with the speech. It's too late, you've missed your chance. Who? Only you as voting judges or the contestants may provide a protest. A protest cannot originate from the tie-breaking judge or from audience members. How do you raise a protest? You contact me as the chief judge, or you write protest on your ballot and do not fill in first to third place. So your goal there is to clearly communicate what happens. The chief judge would then pull, in this case, an online meeting, everybody into a meeting room, and we would have a meeting to moderate what happens with the contest. So it happens after all the contestants have spoken, and we all go into a meeting room and we go and look at the rule book. And then a vote is taken whether to disqualify the contestant or not. Once decided, it is final, and once the results have been announced, they are final, and as I say, you cannot protest afterwards. Now, so that's it, you've done your judging, you've used the criteria. Now, please remember those criteria are for your guidance. It is up to you to decide who came first, second, or third, and how you do that is technically up to you. Those guidance sheets is for your information. After the contest, do not discuss your notes. Do not discuss the result. Make no comment or criticism of the contest. Decline feedback requests. This is quite an important one. Your job is to be a fair, anonymous judge. So if somebody asks you to give feedback on their speech, you should decline. Your job as a judge is just to give a result. Destroy your ballot slips, ballot sheets, and any notes. And remember to change your name back before you rejoin Zoom at the next meeting. So there was a lot of text. There was a lot of stuff. So the key things to remember, it's anonymous. It is designed to be fair. So you're judging only the contest in front of you. If you have problems, ping the contest chair or the chief judge on WhatsApp or chat as appropriate, and have fun while you're doing it. So that's the end of the briefing. Any questions? Deathly silence. Hang on, I'll check the chat.
Oh, sorry, it's Jill here. Sorry, just coming off mute.
Hi, Jill.
Sorry, did you say that there, let me just put my video on. Did you say that there was a script that you read out? Is that in the text, in the rule book, or is there a separate script?
No, there's technically, there isn't an official one from TI. But as a district, we've had Andy Hammond and Andy O'Sullivan originally, and then somebody else whose name I can't remember have worked to put together scripts. So there is a script you can basically go to. It's on the District 91 website, and Helena has just posted a link.
Excellent.
It is really, really useful because it basically makes sure you say everything you need to say.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
I use it every single time I run a contest. So do that. Richard Honeyman, you have a question? Yes.
Right, great. So the referencing of someone else's speech. So a couple of questions there. So if your example, you're in an area contest and someone referenced their own club's the same speech, but for someone else in another in their club contest, does that count as referencing?
No, that's fine. So it's only in the contest. That's that actual contest.
The one you're actually in as it's such. Okay,
yes.
No, that's fine. As you know, but obviously, as you know, in club level, you don't necessarily have to have a speech contest anyway to put people forward.
No,
that's another story in its own right, isn't it?
No, but you could talk about all the contestants in your club speech at the area level, but you're not allowed to speak about any other area contestant.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Rupa.
Just a minor but major point, Rory. So the script will be updated with some of the changes to the rule book. So just on a point about protests prior to the announcement of winners, it's actually now the official wording is prior to the official adjournment of the contest, particularly if you've got multiple contests happening. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Rupa. Jeanette.
I just want to clarify one of the rules that Chris, I think, told us earlier. The new one regarding, I just want to make sure I'm absolutely clear. If anybody is expecting to apply to be an area director in 2022-23, they're unable to be in a contest this year for 2021-22. Correct?
Yes, I'll fish out the exact wording, but it's in the rule changes. If there are specific things like that, I mean, I don't want to discourage people from asking questions, but what I would like to do is move on, if we can, with the contest, and then come back to these at the end in a virtual beer afterwards, so we get the maximum value. I'm not averse to answering those.
No problem.
So, but if there are any things like that, can we save them right until the end, please?
Yeah. So I'm going to do this last one then, and then we'll Laurie.
Is there going to be a portal for us to go in and sign up as judges? Or is it just going to be random selection from the area contest?
I'm not quite sure what you mean there. So normally the contest organizer will attempt to find judges for the contest. So at area level, you often ask each club to provide a judge. The chief judge normally finds the tiebreaker judge, for example. They're invited to be the tiebreaker judge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's leave discussion of that again right until the end. But the answer is no, there isn't a proposed portal that I'm aware of. But area directors might facilitate. If there are no further questions pertaining to the contest, the test table topics contest tonight, are we happy to hand over to our contest chair, Joanne? Over to you, Joanne.
Welcome to the Table Topics contest. Tonight, you'll be glad to know we have 3 speakers. Our first speaker will be Debbie Williams. Debbie Williams. Our second speaker is Martin Madden. Martin Madden. And our third speaker is Annadatta Murali. Annadatta Murali. For fairness, I'm going to introduce the 3 contestants in the same way. I will welcome the contestant who will respond with a greeting. I will then ask them to pin the timekeeper and they will confirm they've done that. And that's our sound check and our visual check. I will say their name. I will repeat the topic twice. and then I'll say their name again. I've chosen a very simple topic, so it's accessible to everybody. I'm not going to spend more time on briefing you on how I've briefed the contestants. I'd like to move on now to the contest, if that's okay, Chris. Thank you. Are people leaving the room? Are we doing it like a contest?
Yes, please. So, John, if you can move speaker 2 and speaker 3 out of the room.
Okay.
Who's our timekeeper, by the way?
Is Nadia in the room?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a volunteer to timekeep? If not, I can do it. I have a set of cards, but it would be nicer if somebody else did.
I can timekeep. Who's speaker 3, please?
And they're marked speaker. The 3 speakers have speaker on there.
Yeah, but I don't know if Debbie or Ananda is 2 or 3.
Sorry.
Debbie
Debbie is number 1.
Debbie's number 1.
Martin
Lovely,
is
thank
number
you.
2, and Anadata is number 3.
Contest chair, I can confirm the speakers have left the room.
Thank you. We'll start the contest. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank
you. Can I ask you to pin the timer for your own convenience?
Sure. Can I just reconfirm who the timer will be for this contest?
Wave. Chris.
Timers just renaming themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've got the white card. Okay. Debbie Williams. No man is an island. Do you agree? No man is an island. Do you agree? Debbie Williams.
Thank you very much. No man is an island. You can't do things on your own. You need people around you in order to move forward and to progress. I'm going to give you an example. I do a lot of Spartan races. During a Spartan race, you cannot actually get through a race on your own. You start together as a team. There are very difficult obstacles to get over. For example, you need to climb a wall, but sometimes these walls are 10 feet tall. You need to push each other over this wall. And then during the race, there are going to be different times, particularly if it's a long 4 or 5 hour race. There are going to be specific times when each team member is going to have a breaking point. That breaking point is when you cannot go any further. You just want to stop. But all your teammates behind you will encourage you. They'll say, keep moving, keep pushing on. We'll carry you through this. We'll motivate you through this. And then there's the times when you can almost smell the finish line, but you're not quite there yet because there are other obstacles that gets in the way. Now, this is very similar to life. How? Because there are various obstacles in life. It might be an obstacle to do with your career. It might be an obstacle to do with your family. It might be an obstacle to do with your health. But having people around you, having people to motivate you through those life moments, through those life journeys, will just help those journeys become so much easier to cope with, similar to being in a Spartan race. My one thing that I would like to encourage you all to do, I'm not saying you need to have a big network of people around you, but just having one or two people, just your family, or even just a couple of friends who you can turn to, who you can say, I need help. And that's one thing we're not very good at doing, and we're not good at saying to each other, I need help. So I would encourage you just to allow people to support you, allow people to motivate you, allow people to get you over any challenging moments that you may go through. Thank you very much. Contest chair.
At this point, the contest chair should be saying 1 minute for the judges, please.
1 minute for the judges, please. Thank you, Mr. Zoom Master. Thank you. Thank you. Have we got our second contestant in the room?
Okay, I've come here to collect the second speaker. Second speaker, time for you to speak.
Welcome, Martin.
He's not in the room yet.
Okay, I can't see him on my screen. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Joanne. I can hear you and I can see you fine.
Thank you. Can I ask you to pin the timer, please?
Yep. Just 1 second. Yep, timer pinned.
Martin Madden. No man is an island. Do you agree? No man is an island. Do you agree? Martin Madden.
No man is an island entire of himself. It's a well-known quote, isn't it? And for me, I do agree, because as we've seen during COVID, nobody can survive entirely in a modern society on their own. Where would we be without Deliveroo drivers? How would many of us have got through COVID without Zoom quizzes or without Toastmasters on Zoom? You can sit in the Zoom room on your own. The software won't stop you, but it won't tell you a great deal. You won't learn anything. You certainly won't be able to do much. And so we need society. We need people around us. We need that element of community, because without it, we have nobody to talk to. Imagine spending years of your life with literally nobody to talk to. I'm an only child, I'd love it. But for most people, it would be a major struggle. So no man is an island entire of himself. Absolutely, I agree with that. Because without our community, we would be nothing. Contest chair.
Thank you. Can I have 1 minute on the clock for the judges, please? Thank you. Can I have the third speaker in the room, please? Welcome, Murali.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you to pin the timer, please?
Yeah, I want to know who is the timer.
It's marked timer.
Yeah, I got it. I have pinned it.
Thank you. Anadata Murali. No man is an island. Do you agree? No man is an island. Do you agree? Amarata Murali.
No man is an island. I don't think I agree with that. Let me tell you. First of all, for those people who know what is an island, a place totally surrounded by water is an island, they call it. But the topic is no man is an island. We are covered through various ways. Today, there is no boundary. I'm sitting right now in Hyderabad in India and communicating with people in London. There are many people who are here from different parts of the world. We are not covered or blocked by anything. The only thing is our mindset. So this island is going to be a blocking for us? I don't think, because there are lots of opportunities. Now coming to this today's digital world, sitting in a place
We appear to have lost our third contestant. This was not actually done on purpose, just in case you were wondering. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our contestant a minute or so to try and dial back in.
He's here.
He's here.
Yeah, I'm here. This is the best example for this contest, because a live example of how I can get disconnected and rejoin. And this is very good. So coming back to my, if I'm allowed to speak further.
Please.
Okay, so coming back to the topic, sitting at home, anywhere in the world, now you can see the entire world, get the information sitting at home, and it's a vast knowledge. You are not protected or you are not constrained with any territory. So you are not an island. You are in the midst of the capital or Kennard Circus. It's a place for you. Anywhere you can sit and create a paradise. It need not be just an island. So my dear friends, I would like to conclude saying that every person can go across outside its comfort zone and establish a new horizon, new palace, new greenery pasture for him. So with this note, over to you, Contest Chair. Thank you very much.
Can I now have as long as the judges need to complete their ballots?
And from a Zoom point of view, you would probably now be moved into your breakout room to discuss.
Yeah, if we could have a minute of silence, Mr. Timer, and then I'll do the briefing of what we're going to do next. A minute of silence for judges to complete their ballots.
That's your minute.
Can I just thank the contestants for making this a worthwhile judging event? Thank each of you.
You're on mute, Christopher.
What we're going to do next is we're going to go out into breakout rooms. We're running slightly behind schedule, so I think we should have about